But now we've got 3 whiskies there. And they're from Balvenie, and Balvenie is a long-established Speyside distillery.
Now, are these... You know I know nothing about whiskey because it's really not to my palate, but are these single malts mixed? These are single malts?
Yeah.
Explain what that means, because I don't really know.
Well, you go a blended... if you have a Bell's or a Grouse, it's a mixture of grain and malt whiskies. Malt whiskey is much more expensive to produce. It's the way it's malted, and these actually are still in the traditional maltings, which are like hand-turned, you know, and we used to call it monkey shoulder, which is the name of a whiskey, because if you just kept turning it with this great big... It's crossed between a shovel and a rake, is that you get one really overdeveloped shoulder, and that was the monkey shoulder. You'd be swinging that around, and they still have these, and they've got Coppersmith and Coopers to do their barrels, so it's a much more expensive process. That's why single malts they only still make up about 5% of the whiskey market. It is growing, but a lot of malt goes into the blended whiskies just to give them a bit of oomph, and these are from Balvenie, which is in Doveton, obviously they're in Banffshire, which is between Aberdeen and Inverness. It's that fantastic part of the world, next door to Glenfiddich. And I've got 3 different ones, and the first one is a single... it's a bourbon oak cask, and there are only 250 to 300 bottles from each individual cask. And I put a little bit of water, but you insisted on going
I insisted on having it neat, because I wanted to be able to smell it properly. And I actually like the smell of that, and I don't normally like the smell of whiskey. I know, and that's why I don't. You know, I've said to people, if you've got a real problem with whiskies, you've had a problem with it in the past because you've drunk too much and it's made you ill and your body regards it as a poison, then do dilute the heck out of it, and then allow you to slowly get back to it. I'm drinking a bit of water. That's perfectly palatable. I mean, I'm sure that's a terrible thing to say. No, I know what you mean, but that's neat because it's 47.8%.
Blimey. You know, and it's aged for 15 years. And I think it's a fantastic starting point.
That is a really nice flavour. It's not too strong. It's not overpowering. I mean, I'm sure it's strong alcoholically, but in terms of the flavours, it's quite mellow and yeah. No, I like that. And what I've got it to match it with, I've got, again, I know you're not a huge Chocky fan, but this is Charbonnel and Walker, based at the Royal Arcade, Old Bond Street, right in the middle of town. It's a vanilla truffle, white chocolate truffle with a vanilla centre. And again, because there are vanilla elements to this particular whiskey, there's a bit of citrus and spice and spirit coming through, but it's interesting, and I've just tried that with this big round. Oh, that goes really well together. Yeah, it just cuts through it, doesn't it? You need something to cut through the richness of that. It's a very rich chocolate. Yes. Now, and that's quite an expensive chocolate, again, because it's higher in strength, so you pay more duty on it, and also it's been aged, say, for 15 years, so that's going to cost you about £45. But next door is the Balvenie Doublewood, 12 years of maturation. So this is the next glass? Yes, it is indeed. And that... chocolate-wise, I've matched it up with a really interesting chocolate, a dusted caramel truffle, a milk chocolate caramel centre, and from Charbonnel and Walker. And this is 12 years matured in American oak, which is a refilled one where they had bourbon in it, so you got the bourbon coming through. And then at the end, for about half a year, they put it into an Oloroso, which is that, you know, a remarkably tasty sherry, and just to give it that bit more Christmas puddy, raisiny element. This is 40%. This is in the late 20s, about £28, but double wood because it goes into the 2 different woods. Quite a different, again, heady. I love that nose, you know. I just want to dive into that, you know. Never mind the Commonwealth Games, that young lad diving off the high board, but... You'd dive into a pool full of that, would you, Nigel? Yes, I would very much. And I think with the caramel, that milk chocolate centre, it really does. Let me try just spice through it. Yes, there you go. That's the Balvenie. Now that chocolate is fantastic. Yeah, Doublewood. Yeah, that's good. And again, a good combination. I know Sarah will be hanging out. I will lose limbs as I go out there afterwards. They have a very good ambassador, Dr. Andrew Forrester, who goes all round for Balvenie. And again, if you go online and you want to book him for something, he'll do tastings with you at wherever at home or wherever. And it's a great introduction into the world of whiskey. And again, from right across the board. Now, the third one, it's port and cranberry, is what I've got. It's a port and cranberry truffle. It's with a ganache, which is like the lovely soft centre, and then it's a port and cranberry centre, and because of that, we've gone for Portwood, which is a 40% again. It's aged for 21 years, would you believe? And it's
in US oak, and it's then finished off with about 4 or 5 months in 30-year-old port pipes, which is a great big port, aging vessels. So that's the third one, and I say I matched that up with a port and cranberry truffle from Charmel and Walker.
I find that one a bit sharper, slightly on my...
I got the port, that's port sweetness on the end of it as well.
It's definitely sweeter.
Yeah.
It's also got more of that peaty taste.
Yes, that's a lovely description. It is. It's got that, that Bonfire of the Vanities, which you normally associate with some of the island malts, the Isla, or Highland, or as in Highland Park there up in Orkney, or something that style. But it's a really thick, rich, lots of layers to it. And that's 40%.
So how much is a bottle of whiskey of that calibre?
Well, those three I've got were from 28, which is the double wood, 45, which is for the single barrel, which is literally, and this port wood, which is 21 years. This is quite limited in its production, and that because of 21 years aging is £80.
£80
yeah,
a bottle?
Yeah,
blimey.
But if you go to the Whisky Show, you can taste a lot of these as well. And they've also got a Mortlach 70-year-old, which was selling for £10,000 a bottle. I've got a little bit here which we can have a dab on behind our ears. Come on, you should.
Well, I can't drink that. That's too expensive, and I'm not a whiskey drinker. You give that to someone who really enjoys
there
it.
you go. I'll have a quick. Gosh.
I'll have a sniff.
Yeah, of course. You don't want to drink with your eyes. You want to see, try it and just see. Hello, whether you really want to have a little. Go on.
Oh, go on, Elm.
Go on, Elms.
Blimey.
Come on,
I can see. I'm not saying that I'm going to enjoy that, but I can see why it's very, very expensive. It's incredibly complex in its flavours. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on in there. Yeah, and again, it is that very much that big peaty hit which you described before, and yet it is from Doveton in Mortlach, Mortlach, and it's just a very, very unusual 70-year-old. I mean, it's just a fantastic opportunity. And again, if you go to the Whisky Show, then there's a chance of you winning one of these 20cl. So that's all going on, and honeyed sweet style. That's the style of Balvenie you can look, but there are going to be lots of other whiskies available at the show, and as I say, and Dr. Andrew Forrester will be there, amongst many others, but do check out some of the grub. Now, the restaurant Sorry,
awards,
where was the Whisky Show again?
It is at the Truman Brewery on Brick Lane.
Right.
So, and it's going to be there at the end of the month. It's the 29th and 30th. And I say go online, thewhiskyshow.com, and you'll find out more about it and how to get there and what's on offer. But it is, as I say, they're limiting tickets, so it's just worth having a look at. Now, the restaurant...